The Lost Book of Enki, the third tablet. The fate of Nibiru is in my hands. To my conditions you must give heed. Those were the words of Allelu. From the dark-hued earth to Nibiru they were by the speaker beamed. When the words of Allelu to Anu the king were conveyed, Anu astounded was. Astounded were the counselors, amazed were the sages. Allelu is not dead? They each other asked. Could indeed he on another world be living? They with disbelief were saying. Was he not on Nibiru hiding in the chariot, to a place of concealment gone? The commanders of chariots were summoned. Savants, the beamed words considered. The words from Nibiru did not come. From beyond the hammer bracelet they were spoken. This was their finding. This to Anu, the king, they reported. Stunned was Anu. This happening he pondered. Let words of acknowledgment to Anu be sent. To the assembled he was saying. At the place of the celestial chariots the command was given. To Allelu words were spoken. Anu, the king, to you his greeting sends. Of your well-being to learn he is pleased. For your departing from Nibiru there was no reason. Enmity is not in Anu's heart. If gold for salvation you have indeed discovered, let Nibiru be saved. The words of Anu, Allelu's chariot, did reach. Allelu them quickly answered. If your savior I am to be, your lives to save, convene the princes to assembly, my ancestry declare supreme. Let the commanders make me their leader, bow to my command. Let the council pronounce me king, on the throne Anu to replace. When the words of Allelu on Nibiru were heard, great was the consternation. How could Anu be deposed? The counselors asked each other. What if Allelu mischief, not truth, is telling? Where is his asylum? Did gold indeed he find? They summoned the sages of the wise and learned counsel they asked. The oldest of them spoke. I was Allelu's master, he was saying. He had hearkened to teachings of the beginning of the celestial battle he was learning. Of the watery monster Tiamat and her golden veins he knowledge acquired. If indeed beyond the hammered bracelet he had journeyed, on earth the seventh planet is his asylum. In the assembly a prince spoke up. A son of Anu he was. Of the womb of Antu, Anu's spouse, he was the issue. Enlil was his name. Lord of the command it meant. Words of caution he was saying. Of conditions Allelu cannot speak. Calamities were his handiwork. By single combat and wrestling he the throne forfeited. If Tiamat's golden veins he indeed had found, proof of that is needed. Is it for protecting our atmosphere sufficient? How through the hammered bracelet to Nibiru can it be brought? Thus did Enlil the son of Anu speak. Others many questioned, also asked. Much proof was greatly needed. Many answers are required, all agreed. The words of the assembly to Anu were conveyed. A response demanded. Allelu the words merit pondered. To transmit his secrets he agreed. Of his journey and its perils, in truth, he an account gave. Of the tester, its crystal innards he removed. From the sampler, its crystal heart he took out. And to the speaker he the crystal inserted, all the findings to transmit. Now that proof has been delivered, declare me king, bow to my command, he sternly demanded. The sages were aghast. The weapons of terror Allelu on Nibiru more havoc caused. With weapons of terror a path through the bracelet he blasted. Once in its circuit, Nibiru, that region passes, calamities Allelu is amassing. In the council there was much consternation. The kingship to alter was indeed a grave matter. Anu, not by ancestry alone, was king. By fair wrestling the throne he attained. In the assembly of the princes a son of Anu stood up to speak. He was wise in all matters, among the sages renowned he was. Of the secrets of waters he was the master. Ea, he whose home is water, he was called. Of Anu he was the firstborn. To Damkina, Allelu's daughter, he was espoused. My father by birth is Anu the king, Ea was saying. Allelu by marriage my father is. To bring the two clans into unison was my espousal's intention. Let me be the one, in this conflict, unity to bring. Let me Anu's emissary to Allelu. Let me be the one Allelu discoveries to uphold. Let me in a chariot to earth journey. A path through the bracelet with water, not fire, I shall fashion. On earth from the waters let me the precious gold obtain, to Nibiru back it will be sent. Let Allelu be king on earth, a verdict of the sages awaiting. If Nibiru it will save, let there be a second wrestling. Who shall Nibiru rule? Let it determine. The princes, the counselors, the sages, the commanders heard Ea's words with wonder. Full of wisdom they were, for conflict they solution found. Let it so be, Anu announced. Let Ea journey. Let the gold be tested. Allelu, a second time I shall then wrestle. Let the winner be on Nibiru king. The words of decision to Allelu were conveyed. He pondered them and agreed. Let Ea, my son, by marriage to earth come. Let gold from the waters be obtained. Let it for salvation on Nibiru be tested. Let a second wrestling, kingship by me or Anu settle. So be it, Anu to the assembly decreed. Enlil rose in objection. The king's word unalterable was. Ea to the palace of the chariots went. Commanders and sages he consulted. The mission's dangers he contemplated. How to extract and bring the gold he considered. Allelu's transmission he carefully studied. Allelu for more testing the results he requested. The tablet of destinies for the mission he was fashioning. If water be the force, where could it be replenished? Where on the chariot will it be stored? How to force will it be converted? A full circuit of Nibiru did pass in contemplations, a shar of Nibiru in preparations past. The largest celestial chariot for the mission has been fitted. Its chariot's destiny has been calculated. A tablet of destinies has been firmly fixed. 50 heroes will for the mission be required to journey to earth the gold to obtain. To the journey Anu his approval gave, the stargazers for the journey the right time to begin, then selected. At the place of the chariots multitudes gathered to bid farewell to the heroes, and their leader did they come. Bearing eagles' helmets, carrying each officious suit, the heroes the chariot one by one entered. The last to embark was Ea. To the gathering he bade farewell. Before his father Anu he knelt down, the king's blessing to receive. My son, firstborn, a far journey you have undertaken for us all to be endangered. Let your success calamity from Nibiru banish. Go, and in safety come back. So did Anu to his son speak a blessing, bidding him farewell. The mother of Ea, the one called Ninlul, to her heart embraced him. Why, after, by Anu, as a son to me you were given, did he with a restless heart you endow? Go and come back, the hazardous road traverse safely, to him she said. With tenderness Ea kissed his spouse, Damkina. He without words embraced. Enlil, with his half-brother locked arms, be blessed, be successful, to him he said. With heavy heart Ea the chariot entered, to soar up the command he gave. Now this is the account of the journey to the seventh planet, and how the legend of the fish god who came from the waters has begun. With heavy heart Ea the chariot entered, to soar up the command he gave. The commander's seat by Anzu, not by Ea, was occupied. Anzu, not Ea, was the chariot's commander. He who knows the heavens, his name's meaning was. For the task he was especially selected. A prince among the princes he was, of royal seed his ancestry he counted. The celestial chariot he deftly guided. From Nibiru it powerfully soared, toward the distant sun it directed. 10 leagues, 100 leagues, the chariot was coursing. 1,000 leagues the chariot was journeying. Little Gaga came out to greet them. A welcome to the heroes it was extending. The blue-hued Antu, the beautiful enchantress, it showed the way. By her sight Anzu was attracted. Let us examine her waters, Anzu was saying. Ea, to continue without stopping, gave the word. It is a planet of no return, he forcefully said. Toward the heavenly An, the third in planetary counts, the chariot continued. On his side was An Lang, his host of moons about him were whirling. The tester's beams the presence of waters was revealing. A stop if needed to Ea it was indicating. To continue the journey, Ea sang, toward Anshar, the heaven's foremost prince, he was directing. Soon the ensnarling pull of Anshar they could tell, his colored rings with fear they admired. Deftly did Anzu the chariot guide, the crushing dangers he cleverly avoided. The giant Kishar, foremost of firm planets, was next to be encountered. Her net pull was overpowering. With great skill did Anzu the chariot's course divert. With fury Kishar at the chariot's divine lightning was thrusting. Her host at the uninvited she directed. Slowly Kishar moved away from the chariot, the next enemy to encounter. Beyond the fifth planet the hammered bracelet was lurking. Ea his handiwork to set, a whirling command the water thruster to prepare. Toward the host of turning boulders the chariot was rushing. Each one like a slingshot stone ferociously at the chariot aimed. The words by Ea was given. With the force of 1,000 heroes, the stream of water was thrust. One by one the boulders turned face, a path for the chariot they were making. But as one boulder fled, another in its stead was attracting. A multitude beyond count was their number, a host for the splitting of Tiamat revenge seeking. Again and again Ea the commands gave, the water thrusters to keep a-whirling. Again and again toward the host of boulders streams of water were directed. Again and again the boulders their faces turned, a path for the chariot making. And then alas, the path was clear, unharmed the chariot could continue. A cry of joy the heroes sounded. Double was the joy as the sight of the sun was now unveiled. Amidst the elation Anzu the alarm sounded. For the path to have fashion, excessive waters were consumed. Waters to feed the chariot's fiery stones for the remaining journey were not sufficient. In the dark deepness, the sixth planet they could see, the sun's rays it was reflecting. There is water on Lamu, Ea was saying. Can you bring the chariot down upon it? Anzu, he was asking. Deftly Anzu the chariot toward Lamu directed. Reaching the celestial god, around it he the chariot made circle. The planet's net is not great, its pull is to handle easy, Anzu was saying. A sight to behold was Lamu, many-hued it was. Snow-white was its caps, snow-white was its sandals, reddish-hued was its middle. In the midst lakes and rivers were a-glitter. Deftly Anzu the chariot made travel slower. By a lakeside it gently came down. Ea and Anzu their eagle's helmet donned. To the firm ground they stepped down. On command the heroes that which water suck extended the chariot's bowels with the lake's water to fill. While the chariot was getting its fill of waters, Ea and Anzu the whereabouts examined. With tester and sampler all that matters they ascertained. The waters were good for drinking, the air was insufficient. All was in the chariot's annals recorded, the need for the detour described. With the vigor replenished, the chariot soared up to benevolent Lamu, farewell bidding. Beyond the seventh planet was making its circuit. Earth and its companion, the chariot, were inviting. In the commander's seat, Anzu was without words. Ea too was silent. Ahead was their destination, its gold Nibiru fate for salvation or doom containing. The chariot must be slowed, or in Earth's thick atmosphere it shall perish, Anzu to Ea declared. Around the Earth's companion, the moon, make slowing circles, Ea to him suggested. They circled the moon. By the vanquishing Nibiru in the celestial battle it prostrate and scared was lying. Having the chariot thus slowed down toward the seventh planet, Anzu the chariot directed. Once, twice the earth's globe he made the chariot circle. Ever closer to the firm land he lowered it. Snow-hued was 2/3 of the planet, dark-hued was its middle. They could see the oceans, they could see the firm lands, for the signal beacon from Alalu they were searching. Where an ocean touched dry land, where 4 rivers were swallowed by marshes, Alalu's signal was beacon. Too heavy and large the chariot is for the marshes, Anzu was declaring. The earth's pulling net too powerful for on dry land to descend it is, Anzu to Ea announced. Splash down in the ocean's waters, Ea to Anzu shouted. Around the planet Anzu made one more circuit. To the chariot with much care toward the ocean's edge he lowered. The chariot's lungs he filled with air, into the waters down it splashed, into the depths it was not sinking. From the speaker a voice was heard. To earth be welcomed, Alalu was saying. By his beamed words the direction of his whereabouts was determined. Toward the place Anzu the chariot directed, floating as a boat it was upon the waters moving. Soon the wide-ranging ocean narrowed. Dry land on both sides as guardian appeared. On the left side brown-hued hills were rising, on the right side mountains to heaven their heads raised. Towards the place of Allelu was the chariot moving, floating like a boat, upon the waters it was. Ahead the dry land was covered with flooding, marshes the ocean were replacing. Anzu to heroes commands uttered, their fish's suit to put on he ordered. A hatch of the chariot was then opened, into the marshes the heroes descended. Strong ropes to the chariot they attached, with the ropes the chariot they were pulling. Allelu beamed words more powerful were becoming. Hurry, hurry, he was saying. At the edge of the marshes a sight there was to behold. Gleaming in the sun rays was a chariot from Nibiru, Allelu's celestial boat it was. The heroes, their paces quickened, towards Allelu's chariot they hurried. Impatient, Ea donned his fish's suit. With his chest, his heart was like a drum beating. Into the marsh he jumped, towards its edge hurried step he directed. High were the marshes, flooding deeper was the bottom than he expected. He changed his gait to swimming. With bold strokes forward he advanced. As dry land he was approaching. Green meadows he could see. Then his feet touched the firm ground. He stood up, and by walking he continued. Ahead he could see Allelu standing, with his hands with vigor waving. Coming out of the waters, ashore Ea stepped. On dark-hued earth he was standing. Allelu towards him came running. His son, by marriage, he powerfully embraced. "Welcome to a different planet," Allelu to Ea said. Now this is the account of how Eridu on earth was established, how the count of 7 days was begun. In silence did Allelu Ea embrace. With tears of joy his eyes were filled. Before him Ea bowed his head. Respect for his father by marriage he was showing. In the marshes the heroes were advancing. More donned fish's suits. More toward the dry land were rushing. "Keep the chariot afloat," Anzu was commanding. "In the waters anchor it, the mud ahead avoiding." Ashore stepped the heroes. Before Allelu they were bowing. Ashore came Anzu, the last the chariot to depart. Before Allelu he bowed. With him Allelu in welcome locked arms. To all who had arrived Allelu words of welcome spoke. To all who were assembled Ea words of command spoke. "Here on earth I am the commander," he was saying. "On a life or death mission we have come. In our hands is Nibiru's fate." He looked about for a place for encampment. He was searching. "Heap up soil. Mounds fashioned there," Ea gave command. An encampment to set up. To a place not afar he was pointing. A reed hut adobe by Allelu erected. To Anzu then words he directed. To Nibiru words by beaming deliver. "To the king my father, Anu, successful arrival announce." Soon the hue of the skies was changing. From brightness to reddish it was turning. A sight never seen before their eyes was unfolding. The sun as a red ball on the horizon was disappearing. Fear seized the heroes. Of a great calamity afraid they were. Allelu with laughter words of comfort was saying. "A setting of the sun it is. The ending of one day on earth it is marking. For a quick rest lie down. A night on earth is beyond imagining short. Before you expect, the sun will an appearance make. On earth it will be morning." Before expecting, darkness came. The heavens from the earth it separated. Before expecting, darkness came. The heavens from the earth it separated. Lightnings the darkness pierced. Rains the thunders followed. By winds were the waters blown. Storms of an alien god they were. In the chariot the heroes hunkered down. In the chariot the heroes huddled. Resting to them did not come. They were greatly agitated. With quickened hearts the sun's return they awaited. Smiling when its rays appeared they were, joyful and backslapping. And it was evening, and it was morning. Their first day on earth it was. By daybreak Ea the ongoings considered. To separate waters from waters heed he was giving. In Gur he made of the sweet waters the master. Drinking water to provide. To the snake pond with Allelu he went, its sweet waters to consider. Evil serpents in the pond were swarming. So did Engur to Ea say. The marshlands Ea then contemplated, the abundance of rain waters he weighed. In Bililu he placed in charge of the marshlands to mark out the thicket of reeds, him he directed. Enki in charge of ditch and dike he placed, a boundary for the marshes to fashion. For the waters that from heaven rain, a gathering place to make. Thus were the waters below from the waters above separated, marsh waters from sweet waters asunder were set. And it was evening, and it was morning, the second day on earth it was, when the sun morning announced the heroes their assigned tasks were performing. With Allelu Ea to the place of grass and trees his steps directed, all that in orchard grows, herbs and fruits, after their kinds to examine. To Ismud, his visor, Ea question was addressing. What is this plant? What is that plant? Him he was asking. Ismud, one of much learning, food that grows well he could distinguish. He tore a fruit for Ea, a honey plant it is. To Ea he was saying, one fruit he himself ate, one fruit Ea was eating. Of food that grows, by its good distinguished, Ea, the hero guru, put in charge. Thus were the heroes water and food provided, satiated they were not. And it was evening, and it was morning, the third day on earth it was. On the fourth day the winds ceased blowing, the chariot by waves was not disturbed. Let tools from the chariot be brought, let adobes in the encampment be built, Ea thus commanded. Kula, in charge of mold and brick, Ea appointed, from the clay bricks to fashion. Mushdamu to lay foundation he directed, dwelling adobes to erect. All day the sun was shining, the great light by day it was. By eve-time Kingu, earth's moon, in fullness a pale light on earth it cast. A lesser light to rule the night among the celestial gods accounted to be. And it was evening, and it was morning, the fourth day on earth it was. On the fifth day Ea, Ningursig, a boat of reeds to fashion commanded, the measure of the marshes to take, the stretch of the swamp lands to consider. Olmash, he, who what in the waters swarms knows, who of fowl that flies has understanding. Olmash as a companion Ea took, between good and bad to distinguish, kinds that in the waters swarm, kinds that in the skies give wing. To Olmash many were unknown, bewildering was their number. Good were the carp, among the bad they were swimming. In Bililu, the marshland's master Ea summoned. In Kimdu, in charge of ditch and dike Ea summoned. To them he gave words, in the marshland to make a barrier, with cane brakes and green reed, an enclosure to fashion. Fish from fish there separate, a trap for carp that from a net could not escape, a place whose snare no bird that is good for food could escape. Thus were fish and fowl by their good kinds separated, for the heroes provided. And it was evening, and it was morning, the fifth day on earth it was. On the sixth day Ea of the orchard creatures took account, in Ursag to the task he assigned, that which creeps, and that which on feet walks to distinguish. Their kind in Ursag astounded, of the ferocity of their wildness to Ea an account he gave. Ea Kula summoned, to Mushdamu urgent commands he gave. By eve-time the adobes to be completed, by a fence for protection to be surrounded. The heroes to the task put their shoulders, bricks on the foundation were quickly laid. With reeds were the roofings made, of cut-down trees was the fencing put up. Anzu, a beam that kills, from the chariot brought over. A speaker, that words beam at Ea's adobe he set up. By eve-time complete was the encampment, for the night therein the heroes gathered. Ea and Allelu and Anzu the doings considered. All that was done indeed was good, and it was evening, and it was morning, the sixth day. On the seventh day the heroes in the encampment were assembled. To them Ea spoke these words. A hazardous journey we have undertaken, from Nibiru to the seventh planet a dangerous way we traversed. On earth we with success arrived, much good we attained, an encampment we established. Let this day be a day of rest, the seventh day, hereafter a day of resting always to be. Let this place henceforth by the name Eridu be called. Home in the faraway, the meaning thereof will be. Let a promise be kept. Let Allelu of Eridu the commander be declared. The heroes thus assembled, in unison agreement shouted. Words of consent Allelu uttered, then homage to Ea he greatly paid. Let Ea a second name be given. Nu-Dimud, the artful fashioner, let him be called. In unison the heroes' agreement announced, and it was evening, and it was morning, the seventh day. Now this is the account of how the searching for gold was begun, and how the plans on Nibiru, made to Nibiru's salvation, did not provide. After the encampment of Eridu was established, and the heroes with food were sedated, Ea the task of gold from the waters obtaining started. In the chariot the firestones were stirred up, its great cracker was enlivened. That which water sucks from the chariot was extended, into the marshland waters it was inserted. Into a vessel of crystals the waters were directed. From the waters, the crystals, all that is metal, the vessel extracted. Then from the vessel, that which spits out the waters, to the fish pond spat out. Thus were the metals that were in the waters in the vessel collected. Ingenious was Ea's handiwork, an artful fashioner indeed he was. For 6 earth days marsh waters were sucked in, marsh waters were spat out. In the vessel metals indeed were collected. The metals on the 7th day by Ea and Allelu were examined. Of many kinds were the metals in the vessel. Iron there was much, copper there was, of gold there was no abundance. In the chariot another vessel, the artful handiwork of Nu-Dimud, the metals after their kind were separated. Ashore, kind by kind, they were carried. For 6 days thus did the heroes toil. In the 7th day they rested. For 6 days were the crystal vessels filled and emptied. On the 7th day were the metals accounted. There was iron, and there was copper, and other metals too. Of the gold the smallest pile was accumulated. In the night times the moon waxed and waned. By the name month did Ea its circuit call. At month's very start its luminous horns 6 days signified. By its half crown the 7th day it announced. A day to rest it was. At midway, by fullness was the moon distinguished, when it paused to become diminished. When the sun's course was the moon's circuit appearing. The earth's circuit it was its face revealing. Fascinated by the moon's motions was Ea. Its attachment as Kingu to Kia he contemplated. What purpose did the attachment serve? What heavenly sign was it giving? A month did Ea the moon's circuit call. A month to its circuit he gave the name. For 1 month, for 2 months, in the chariot were the waters separated. The sun every 6 months to earth another season gave. Winter and summer did Ea by names call them. There was winter and there was summer. By year of earth did Ea the full circuit call. By year's end of the accumulated gold account was taken. Much to dispatch, to Nibiru there was not. The swamp lands waters were deficient. Let the chariot to the deeper ocean be moved, so was Ea saying. From its moorings the chariot united, back whence it came it was shifted. With great care were the crystal vessels stirred up, the salt waters through them passing. Metals by their kinds were separated, gold among them was sparkling. From the chariot of the happenings Ea to Nibiru word did beam. Anu to hear it was pleased indeed. In its destined circuit, Nibiru to the sun's adobe was returning. The closeness to earth on its Shar circuit was Nibiru attaining. With eagerness did Anu about the gold inquire. Is there enough for sending to Nibiru? He was asking. Alas, not enough was of the gold from the waters collected. Let another Shar pass, let the quantity be doubled, Ea to An counseled. From the ocean's waters the obtaining of gold continued. In his heart Ea with apprehension was filling. From the chariot parts were hauled out, a sky chamber from them was assembled. Abgal, he who knows piloting of the sky chamber, to take charge he appointed. Daily in the sky chamber with Abgal did Ea upward soar, the earth and its secrets to learn. For the sky chamber an enclosure was constructed, by Allulu's chariot was it placed. Daily the crystals in Allulu's chariot did Ea study, what by their beams was discovered to understand. Whence does the gold come? He asked Allulu. Where on earth are Tiamat's golden veins? In the sky chamber with Abgal did Ea upward soar, the earth and its secrets to learn. Over great mountains they roamed, in the valleys great rivers they saw, steppes and forests below were stretched, thousands of leagues was their reach, vast lands separated by oceans they recorded, with the beam that scans the soils they penetrated. On Nibiru impatience was growing. Can gold protection provide? Was the outcry increasing. Assemble the gold on Nibiru's nearing. Gold you must deliver. So did Anu, Ea command. Repair Allulu's chariot, for returning to Nibiru make it fit, for the Shar's completion make it ready. So was Anu saying. Ea, his father's, the king's word was heeding. The repairing of Allulu's chariot he was contemplating. As the sky's chamber one eve by the side of the chariot they landed, with Abgal the chariot they entered, a secret deed in the darkness to perform. The weapons of terror, the 7 of them, from the chariot they removed. To the sky chamber they took them, inside the sky chamber them to give hiding. By sunrise Ea and Abgal and the sky chamber soared, to another land was their direction. There in a secret place did Ea the weapons hide, in a cave, a place unknown, he stored them. Then to Anzu Ea words of command gave, to repair Allulu's chariot he him directed, for returning to Nibiru to make it fit, by the Shar's completion to make it ready. Anzu, in the way of chariots greatly skilled, to the task his labours set. He made its thrusters hum again, its tablets he carefully considered. The absence of the weapons of terror he soon discovered. With anger Anzu cried out. Ea of their hiding away gave the explanation. Forsworn is the weapon's use, Ea was saying. Neither in the heavens nor on firm lands shall they ever be harnessed. Without them no passage through the hammered bracelet is safe, Anzu was saying. Without them, without water thrusters, the danger is endurance surpassing. Allulu of Eridu, the commander, the words of Ea considered. To the words of Anzu heed he gave. The words of Ea by the council of Nibiru are attested, Allulu was saying. But without the chariot's return, Nibiru shall be doomed. Abgal, he who knows piloting, boldly toward the leader stepped forward. I shall be the pilot. The danger I shall valiantly face, he was saying. Thus was the decision made. Abgal shall be the pilot. Anzu on earth shall be staying. On Nibiru, the stargazers, the destinies of the celestial gods contemplated. An opportune day they were selecting. Into Allulu's chariot basketfuls of gold were carried. The forepart of the chariot Abgal entered, the commander's seat he occupied. From the chariot of Ea to him Ea a tablet of destiny gave. It shall be that which shows the way for you. By it the open path you shall find. The chariot's firestones Abgal stirred up. Their hum like music was enthralling. The chariot's great cracker he enlivened. A reddish brilliance it was casting. Ea and Allulu, the multitude of heroes, were standing around. Farewell to him they were bidding. Then the chariot with a roar heavenward rose. To the heavens it ascended, to Nibiru. Words of the ascent were beamed. On Nibiru there was much expecting.